While we're waiting on parts for our XS 750 Yamaha, the special that we're doing the Cafe Racer on, we had this 86 Honda Rebel come in. It had the carburetor just sitting with it. No seat. It's had a back fender added to it. I don't know if they were trying to add some factory pipes to it, but for some reason the pipes are just hanging there dangling. It does not have a title, so what we're going to do is try to get it to see if it will run, and if it will run, we'll doctor it up a little bit without cosmetically doctor it up. I don't put anything out that is halfway as far as mechanical goes, brakes and all that kind of stuff, electrical. We'll make sure all that's right. Sorry about the dark side of this. And what we'll do is we'll just list this for sale. If we can fix it up fairly nice, maybe 500 bucks out of it, and that person would have to do a bonded title to get it to where they can put it on their insurance and be able to tag it and ride it. So the first thing we need to do is see if we can rescue this carburetor. So let's look at it. Okay, just from doing an inspection on the carburetor, everything seems to be in place. The idle screw that is missing, and the screws here on the float bowl are missing. This is loose, or well, I thought it was loose. Let's see if we can just use the pliers here to get that taken apart here. Yeah, it's fairly loose. That way we'll have a little bit easier time of lifting this float bowl up and seeing what kind of condition the inside's going to be. You can do this without removing this, but makes it a little bit easier. It's pretty close. But anyway, we can lift it up with a spring here and move it across. I just didn't want to risk damaging the floats. And there's not a whole lot of... It's been a while. Look, that's powdery. Our floating needle works. So this is going to have to be cleaned out. Get the pilot and the idle jets cleaned. And that looks okay. Look how, yeah, it's kind of how slow that. We'll have to replace these. These have all been rounded off, so we'll have to take a vice grip and get those out. So let's go ahead and get those out, and then we'll look at it a little closer. All right, we got those 4 screws off the floating needle there. That looks okay. Man, look at that. Have to get that cleaned up, get this held up to a good light to make sure there's no holes in that. But gosh, that looks bad. All right, we'll get all this rest of this stuff cleaned up. Look at that. That is crazy how bad that is. But we're gonna take all the parts off of it that won't be damaged by a good chemical soak, and we'll get that done. Look at the inside of that float bowl. Crazy. Alright, we'll let's get that apart and get it cleaned up. Okay, we've let this we've let this carburetor set in some chem dip for several days. There's still just a little bit of residue on there that we'll spray one more time before we get it put back together. We went ahead and replaced the jets. Those are just too far gone. The biggest problem we had was the accelerator pump passage from here to there. We let it set, and as soon as it came out, it was still soft in there. We took some copper wire and ran down through that and finally got that cleaned out. And talking about accelerator pump, this is the diaphragm and needle that was in it, and it just got so much corrosion it's pitted. I sanded it down a little bit, took a screwdriver and got all that rust out from in there, but it's just too far gone. So, and this diaphragm and needle, I finally found a place somewhere in Texas that sells them for $38. And that's a hard no for me. So what I done was measured this needle from the bottom to the top, and I guess I wish I'd wrote that. It's either 52 or 54 millimeters. So then I went to search and finally found one that was just a little bit shorter, and it fits the Honda CB900, the CX500s, GL1100, some of the CMs like CM450, maybe the 400, the CB400 and CB450s, and then that's what I put in a new one here in the accelerator pump. Once we got all that cleaned out, of course, ordered a kit and got a new gasket there. And if it's just a little bit too short, of course, if it's too long, you just cut it off and sand down the end of this to smooth. But if it's just a little bit too short, you can take the piece of this guide off here and bend it so it'll go by the stop. Let me get this put together, and I'll show you what I'm talking about with that. Okay, I've got this carburetor put back together, pretty clean, but I was talking about this bump stop here for this accelerator pump. As you can see, with a just slightly shorter needle, we're still getting good movement on it. But if you want to get a lot more movement on this shorter needle, then that bump stop there and this guide, you can just bend that out to where it'll pass that bump stop. But I think for what we need, that's going to work out fine for us. We still got just a little bit of residue to get off of there. We got our idle screw off of another part put back down there. So we'll do the final cleanup on this and test it on our test bike. And then the next part of this video, we'll go on to the stuck engine and show you how to economically get that engine unstuck and make sure it's going to be viable for use. So thank you guys for watching, and look out for part 2 on this Honda 86 Honda Rebel, trying to bring it back to life. All right, thank you guys for watching.